Welcome back. This is the Sheepdogs Report. I am Minister V. Hill, and you have an exclusive. We have Greg Burt. He is the Vice President of the California Family Council. Now, if you watched us for over a year, you know we mention a lot of their stories. In fact, we're on the mailing list. I get the stuff. But this time we have an exclusive with him. Oh man, this is going to be great. Okay, now be sure to share, like us, and subscribe. I got to set you up. Now, last month I did kind of a report on the Scameti court case that's in the Supreme Court. Now, I went through detail. I looked at every aspect of it from the spiritual to the psychological to what it means for you. I did all of that. Now, and since that time, there's been a couple of executive orders that Trump have put down. Now, keep in mind, we live here in California are dealing with what I call the treacherous three, which is I keep getting mixed up. Wiener, it's Scott or Mike. Scott Wiener,
San Francisco.
From San Francisco, the one who writes up all this stuff. Also, you have to deal with Bonta, who kind of enforces it, and then you have our luscious government. I think I messed the whole thing up.
No, you're right.
Slick Newsom. That's what I call him, Slick Newsom, and he's the one that puts everything into practice. Okay, so all the problems that we had over the course of the years, as far as parents' rights, women and boys and women's sports, and the parent issue of them like legally trying to kidnap your own child or whatever, and turn the kids against you. Well, we are at a strange intersection, and Greg here is going to talk about a little bit. Because of what Trump has ordered, now Newsom is forced to either accept it or maybe not accept it. We still got to fight. Okay, keep in mind, the pendulum swings one way and then it swings back the other way. And when it comes back this time, it's coming back with a lot of force. Okay, let's talk about what do you think your prospects of what's our latest fight on the trans issue?
Well, the issue with transgenderism is really back to the fundamentals of what does it mean to be a human being, right?
Right.
Are we biologically determined to be male or female, or is sex and gender something part of our individual ideology that's all based on our internal sense of who we are, which is, that we're not male or female, we are one of a, unlimited number of genders. That is the official policy of the California government. So there's a lot of implications with that. And one of those is that if a young kid thinks he's not a male, even though his body is male, but he thinks he could be a female, then the school districts, the government officials will treat the individual like he feels.
Right.
So any male can become a female by simply declaring it. Any female become a male simply by declaring it. And not only is that something where names are changed and pronouns are changed, they actually have drugs now to make you look like the opposite sex. You take cross-sex hormones for the male, you take estrogen. For the female, you take testosterone, which starts to morph your body. You take puberty blockers, which stops kids from going through normal puberty.
All right.
And then they do surgical surgery on you, which means young teenagers who think they're boys, girls, are getting double mastectomies. That is the recommendation of all our medical professionals. And so this has been happening for a while. It's beginning progressively worse, but now more and more states are not saying, hey, we are not going to medically transition minors anymore. We're going to, 23 states, I believe, have outlawed it. And now you mentioned one state has been taken to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court's going to decide whether young kids have a right to get their breasts cut off and take opposite sex hormones as a right.
Do you think there's going to be much of a fight from Newsom, and that we're going to have to?
No, he's been promoting this from the beginning.
Well, of course,
right?
But do you think that that Trump's that he has a way of bypassing Trump's executive orders?
Well, what Trump has done is said that we are no longer going to be supporting any hospital that does transitioning. Now, you can think of all your hospitals in California. Mm-hmm. They all survive on federal funding. Mm-hmm. A lot of people come in who are getting federal funding for all kinds of treatment, right? And just last week or week before, Children's Hospital of Los Angeles publicly announced they are no longer going to be giving minors puberty blockers or cross-sex hormones, and they've stopped all the surgery. Really?
That's good news,
you
y'all.
You didn't know about that?
No, that's why you're on the program, man.
Right. No, that just happened. And Bonta, who you talked about, has put out a press release saying that any hospital that stops giving these drugs, we are going to sue you.
Okay, that's what I'm after right there.
Right. So now we have a conflict because the state law says that you are discriminating against transgendered individuals if you don't give them the hysterectomy, the double mastectomy, if you don't give them the cross-sex hormones. If you don't do that, you are violating their rights. Right?
Let me ask you a question. Okay, so they can still, as you were describing, they can still socially transition them.
Sure, anybody can decide. Well, anybody can decide I want to change my name,
or to be talked into it or groomed into it. In other words, they still can. So that's still going to be a little bit of a fight there, right?
Oh, well, absolutely. But he's also said any school who is teaching kids that they can be trapped in the wrong body is going to lose federal funding.
Oh, this is going to be great. This is a good year.
So that's a threat. So now, and he said any school who is allowing boys onto girls' teams, you're going to lose federal funding. He actually, just yesterday, I saw him with a bunch of governors, and he said, hey, I hear the governor of Maine is in here, and they're ignoring my executive order.
Right.
And he goes, we're going to pull all your funding if you keep letting boys into girls' sports. And she goes, see you in court.
Right.
So now we have a battle. We really have somebody on our side on this particular issue who is defending what most people believe is reality.
Right.
Our biology has everything to do with whether we are male or female.
Personally, I think a lot of them was waiting for that opportunity. That's why when Trump was elected, a lot of the companies started dropping their DEI like hotcakes. Like, okay, we've been waiting. This bail out right now while we got a chance, and we can blame him. Why are we doing it? Okay, that's just my opinion. That's my opinion. Don't it's not science. Now, you said that you recently had some news. Or you had a press conference.
Right. So what Trump has done is emboldened some of the conservative politicians up in Sacramento to finally start pushing back. I've been up there for the last decade.
I know you have.
And even the conservative Christians, I'm telling you, they have not pushed back on any of the transgender stuff. They've not voted for any of it, but they're not speaking up against it. They're not introducing bills and highlighting the great harm it does to young people.
Right.
But now something has changed. So last week, legislators, they had 2 legislators introduce 3 bills. One from Assemblyman Bill Asaley. He's from the Riverside area.
Okay.
He introduced a bill that reverses the whole policy that lets you be on a lets you determine which high school sport you're going to be on based on your gender identity. That's what the law is now. Gender identity is simply chosen by each individual.
Right.
So, and no one can say, you're not really a girl, so you can't be on the girls' team. No one can say that legally.
Right.
This will reverse that. And we'll go back to biological sex, differentiating between not only sports, but bathrooms and showers.
Okay.
Right? So your daughter isn't going to have to deal with a guy stripping in front of them, undressing, and they are supposed to just think that's okay. Because that's what the current law is.
Okay.
That's law number 1.
Okay. I'm going to ask you this. parents tied into this too?
No, there's a lot of parents who are going to school board meetings.
Yeah, right.
Objecting to this. Right. There's a Riverside Martin Luther King high school where two young girls on the cross country team protested and were upset because a boy was let on the team take their spots on the varsity team, didn't have to show up to practice, and they were upset by this, and they had to deal with him in the locker room, and so they wore shirts to practice that said "Save Girl Sports."
Wow!
And the administration pulled them aside and said, "You cannot wear that shirt.
Of course not.
Wearing that shirt's like wearing a swastika on your shirt." And they go, "We're Nazis because we want to save girl sports?" Okay, we got that in the news. All of a sudden, over 100 kids wear Save Girl Sports shirts to school.
Good.
And they tried to stop them. They tried to send them home. And then they gave up because it became a national story.
Yes.
And they filed a lawsuit against them because what they're doing is they're violating Title IX.
Exactly.
Title IX is a federal law that said girls need to have equal opportunities to boys, and how California law is not doing that. They're actually letting boys take away the opportunities of girls.
Okay. Man, that's good stuff.
All right.
Okay.
I got two more bills, though.
Okay, go on. Come on.
All right, so here's two more bills that are introduced. Assemblywoman Alicia Castillo. She's a brand new member of the Assembly from the Riverside area again. She introduced it, AB 579. Yaley's Law. Now, a Yaley is a young girl who, in the Los Angeles area, who was, her mother, she was depressed, she was feeling all anxious. Her mom took her to the school counselor, and the school counselor convinced her that her real issue was that she was really a boy.
Of course.
Right?
That's the answer to everything.
Right? And so the girl wanted to change her name, wanted to start dressing like a boy, change all her pronouns. The mom let her change her clothes, but she said, I'm not going to refer to you as a boy. I'm going to call you the name I gave you.
Right.
The school and CPS, social services, decided her mom was unfit, and they took her daughter from her and put her in foster care and housed her with boys. They gave her testosterone. For several years, she could not have any contact with her mom except once a week for an hour, supervised. Sadly, this young girl ended up committing suicide by laying in front of a train.
That's messed up.
Oh, it's terrible. And so her mother is heartbroken, but she's going around telling the story of how her daughter was stolen from her by our government system. This is not an isolated incident. More and more kids are being removed from their homes because their parents don't agree with their kids transitioning.
That brings into mind last year our governor signed into law, what was it, 1955, or I think AB 1955, which allowed that by law, that they have the right to
well, there could be no policies at school that require parents to be notified.
Yes, that's the one.
If their kids are socially transitioning at school. If you got a school administrator or a teacher who convinces your daughter that she's really a male at school, they can keep that secret from the parents, and there can be no policy requiring the teacher to let the parent know what's happening with their daughter.
Wow.
Right.
So what?
So back to this bill.
Okay.
So Yaley's bill, what it's going to do is it's going to say it is not child abuse. It is not neglect. If you don't want to socially transition your child, if you don't want to medically transform their bodies with transgender surgeries and drugs, that's not going to be considered child abuse. That's all it does. So that's one of the bills. And then the other one, AB 600, it simply allows parents to opt their kids out of any transgender instruction in public schools.
Okay.
Transgender instruction, gender ideology is throughout the curriculum now. They introduce it to kids in elementary school down to the kindergarten level.
Right.
Kids are learning, they get to pick their gender. And so, but the thing is that parents who are upset say this violates our faith, well, they can't opt their kids out of the teaching.
You can't legally
currently you cannot. This bill will allow it. So those are the three bills.
Okay. Just a couple more questions here.
All right.
Now, I know that some other defense organizations, Christian defense organizations, are offering an opt-out. For right now, maybe
that's out of sex ed.
Okay. I see.
So sex ed, there is a law that says parents have a right to opt their kids out of sexual education, which happens once in junior high and once in high school. But they do not consider teaching about transgenderism sex ed.
I hope you're taking notes, because I think on the last report I reported that what was the name of that organization? Take the Classroom Back, I think .com was
Karen England?
Yes, Karen England. It was Karen England.
Right.
She's offering that, and I was like, how did she get around? Okay, very good, very good. This is some good stuff. Now, tell people about your website, because I always do. Especially the ministers paying attention, because they are moving, especially the ministers that we deal with.
Right.
Give out some of your information to these people.
Yeah, our website is californiafamily.org. We are writing stories on a weekly basis about all these topics to try and keep you informed of what's happening. We also have a watch list, so you can see legislation that we think is great and legislation of concern. We have an action center where once the bills start going through the process, what we really need to happen is people need to speak up and let their local representatives know what they think about these bills. If the politicians introduce a terrible bill and they don't hear any opposition, they assume they're doing great work, right? Yeah. And so by our silence, we are giving them approval.
That's right.
And so we can't do that, especially in a representative democracy. We have these representatives. They're supposed to be doing our bidding, advocating things we believe in and we value. But if we don't talk to them, well, there's a whole group of folks who are very interested.
We'll gladly talk to them.
And they have been investing their lives in influencing legislators. And the LGBT caucus is very powerful, even though they're small.
Yes.
Right? They got a ton of money.
Yes.
And sadly, there's churches on every corner. Right, but none of those churches, those pastors, are speaking into the lives of legislators, and so that's what happens.
Yes, that's exactly how. I think it was Edmund Burke who said, "All it takes for evil to conquer is for good men to do nothing." So, with that said, we're glad that you enjoyed this mini interview. We're going to have him back quite a bit. We have him back. At least part of one of the reports that we do out, we're going to be putting out at least 2 reports out a month.
Okay.
So at least we'll have like the inside scoop on a lot of stuff, a lot of ministers. At some point, we'll probably invite you down and you can speak to some ministers all at once. I don't know, we're working that out.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. So until next time, remember to like us, to subscribe, to share, and to leave a comment. This is Minister V. Hill. And this is more than a report. This is an actual mini interview. Thank you. We'll see you next time.